If we do get the win, hopefully, which we will, we are obviously almost there. We'll have to wait and see how Bahrain play with Saudi. Obviously, I think that will be done by 2 or 3 in the morning our time. Look, in the end, the most important thing is that we win. We can obviously be happy inside and celebrate a little bit, but nothing too major, because in the end, if Saudi win against Bahrain, we're still 3 points clear, and we'll still have to go there and get a result there to be 100% safe at the World Cup.
Milos, you're going for your third now World Cup. What has this campaign felt different in any way to the previous two?
I think it has. Obviously, there's been a change in coaching and staff and the mentality and the way that the squad's been, put through its paces, and the way we think and the way we see each other and the way we see the national team is completely different to what it was before. There's so much pride and there's so much, I guess, love for the shirt and the culture that the boss has brought in here. And I think it's been different as well, because I think the World Cup now is 12 teams more at the World Cup, 12 countries more, I think, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's a different process, and now that there's more countries at the World Cup, if you don't qualify through this group stage, there's another group stage, and then you get through that group stage, there's another playoff game. So there's another almost a year of football if you don't qualify directly. So hopefully we'll do the job on Thursday, and hopefully Bahrain can do a job for us as well. But in the end, it's not about them, it's about we do a job on Thursday, we win, hopefully go to Saudi and win there as well, and be, I guess, happy that we're going to a World Cup, and hopefully my third in a row.
Like, you do get that job done. Sorry, do you think the feeling will be the same as it was when you qualified for?
Oh yeah, I think it'll be even more special, because I'm getting older. I'm not old, but I'm getting older. It'll be even more special, because I think it's going to be a really special World Cup in the States. Obviously, they're going to go all out, guns blazing, and show the world they've got everything. Probably flying taxis and everything will be around at that time, so it'll be pretty interesting to be there.
I guess as one of not one of the elder statesmen in a sense, but you are one of the more experienced campaigners. The last two qualification campaigns, gee whiz, they've come down to the wire, especially the last one. Knowing that you're so close to it here, as one of the sort of more experienced players, do you hammer it home to the younger fellas, going, "Hey guys, let's go out there, do the job. We're almost there. Let's not stuff around, because we know how painful it can be and how close we can be. Jesus, penalty shootouts, the lot."
Yeah, we've had a few chats so far, with some of the boys that haven't been through it, and some of the boys who've been in camps and have never gone through a qualifying process. That it can be really hard. Like especially last one where we had the penalties, and I guess the one before where we had to play Honduras, where it was still very tough. And it's never easy when you go to those knockout games. It's a lot. There's no easy game, but it's a lot easier if you qualify through the group stage directly. And I think it's been hammered down, and I think the boys know, and they are well aware of the situation, that there's 2 games that are separating us from going to a World Cup. I think when you look at it in 7 days' time, you'll know whether we're going directly to a World Cup or not.
And I guess from a mentality perspective, Litany stars out for Japan as well, and no Matoma, no Minamino, those guys. How do you drum home that mentality message to them and say, guys, I know they've got guys out, but it's still Japan, right? It's still arguably the gold standard in Asia.
Well, look, if I'm going to be really honest, mate, I think it's even harder for us that those so-called stars are out, because the boys that are coming in, whether they're from the J-League or other clubs in Europe, are going to want to prove to the boss that they should be there at the World Cup. So it's not going to be a walk in the park, and they're not going to take this. They're going to take this as serious, if not more serious, than any other game, because they want to prove to their coach that they should be a part of that World Cup squad, because they will have surely a lot of those boys from Europe, like you say, the big stars that are going to go definitely to a World Cup, and these guys are probably there, trying to force their spot in that squad. So I think it's going to be really, really difficult. I think there's no B team, A team. I think it's one country, and we all know how good Japan is at football.
What sort of game are you expecting against Japan?
A very, I guess from their style, probably a very possession-based, attacking, based side, and I think they're very well organised, very technical, very, very quick, very aggressive when they don't have the ball, and I think it'll be a fairly open game and a very attractive game for the audience, I believe.
Yeah, when you guys went over there and put in a really great performance, having the home crowd behind you here, What sort of advantage is that for you?
Well, hopefully it's a big advantage. I've said this before. It would be a lot nicer if when countries come to Australia to play against us, if the crowd was a little bit more hostile and made them aware that it's Australia, you're here, that they're supporting us, and that that the other countries that come to play here have a disadvantage of any sort. Whether it's just they don't feel welcome after the travel, after everything. It's how it is, I guess. I've been around in Europe for a while, and that's how it is when you go to away games. They make you feel that they make you know that you're away. So that's what we're missing a little bit here. But I'm sure that on Thursday night it'll be a nice crowd, and it'll be a beautiful atmosphere for us, and it'll be quite hostile for them.
Josh, you're part of that 10-day training camp in Abu Dhabi. How important is that as a group, not just in terms of spending time with each other, but also getting to know Tony's principles and the way he wants to play? He's still relatively fresh as an international coach by international standards.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I thought it was. I was there for 5 days. I thought it was very. I gained a lot from it, to be honest, in terms of acclimatising and adapting to what the weather's going to be like in Jeddah in Saudi. But I think the boys, before I arrived, had a good workout in those 6 or 7 days they were there before, and I think it was very valuable for the boss, because he got time to work with the boys. As in international football, you don't have that much time. Normally you arrive on the Monday or Tuesday and you have to play on Thursday, so you don't have much time to work on things you want to improve on. And now we had a little bit of time, and I think the boss narrowed down his ideas, and the boys put in the work. And I think in general, as the boss said, that he's seen a major improvement.
You're one of a number of players who have actually played in America. I think there's 3 or 4 boys in the squad at the moment who are currently applying their trade in the MLS. As someone who went over there, spent a bit of time with Columbus Crew a couple of years ago, what have you made of not just the Aussies kind of heading over to America, but also the growth of the league?
Look, I think it's at this point, if I'm going to be really honest, outside of say the top 5 or 6 European leagues, I think it's one of the most attractive leagues in the world. The organisation, the way it's organised, the way it's set up, is probably second to none. The training facilities that the clubs have, probably the best in the world. The stadiums are all football-based stadiums, apart from say 5 or 6 clubs that play at the NFL or mixed venues. The rest are just football stadiums, 20, 25,000 seaters, unreal. The atmosphere is good because they're always packed out. The Americans, they love their sport, and it's for them, it's a family day out. And I think the boys that do end up going to the MLS, or that are wanting to go to the MLS, I think it's a great option, and I'll always talk highly of the MLS, and I'll always talk highly of the football that's being played in America. And I think it's a great step, whether it's Kai or Yazbek or Aidan O'Neill. I think they've made the right choice, and I'm sure that they will say the same if you ask them that they are happier there than probably they've been in Europe, I guess.
And what was your time like at Columbus? I believe there was a fellow Australian on the S&C stuff.
Yeah, there is. Callum, very good guy. We're still in touch, and he's a very good bloke. I loved my time there, mate. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good setup. The club was run well, and I think in general I enjoyed it, because I wasn't in a big city. I was in a small city, no traffic, nothing, and family-orientated city. And I thought it was, I really and honestly just enjoyed it.